This video is sponsored by Incogni. Most people don't realize this, but your personal information is all over the internet. Your name, address, email address, and even phone number can end up on websites that you've never signed up to. That information is bought and sold, and it's a big reason why people get scam phone calls and spam emails. It also makes it easier for criminals to use this exposed data for scams, stalking, harassment, and other illegal activity. You can try to remove this information yourself, but doing so manually takes hundreds of hours. Even worse, the data often comes back and you have to start all over again. That's where Incogni comes in. Incogni removes your personal data from hundreds of these data broker websites automatically. You sign up once, give them permission, and they handle everything in the background. No forms, no emails, and no chasing anyone. One of the most useful features is custom removals. If you find your information on a specific website, you simply send Incogni the link and a real person will take care of it for you. You do not need to know what to say or who to contact. If you want fewer spam calls, fewer scam attempts, and more peace of mind, use the code Anfield Agenda at checkout to get 60% off the annual plan. Take back control of your personal data because they can't harm you if they can't find you. What is up, my friends? How are we? You're very welcome along to Sunday night's late night agenda. Lots to get through this evening. We'll talk about Cody GAKPO and his future. I'm sure we'll get to the manager at some point as well. We'll link the Reds with a player coming from the Belgian League. We'll have a little bit of a comment from our captain Virgil van Dijk after the game yesterday. I'm sure we'll talk about the cup final as well and the international break. So this is my second to last live stream before I head away for a week. So looking forward to catching up with everybody, and I'm sure you guys have a lot to go through. Say Surfshark. Surfshark. There you go. Said it. But they're not the sponsors. Incogni are our sponsors this evening. So yes, how are we? I hope you're all well. Look, I know we can banter Arsenal and a lot of people are probably going to want to, but look, I'll be honest with you lads. I was sitting there watching that game today and I wish we were there. I do. I love the League Cup and, I understand it's low on the priorities for a lot of clubs, but you can't tell me it didn't mean a lot to the fans that were inside that stadium today, and, I wish it was us that was there. Honestly, I do. Yeah, there you go. Stop talking, what did WIRTZ? Go fuck yourself, you little gobshite. Lads, show a bit of respect in the chat to myself and other users, please, or just disappear. I'm not here to give you your preferences in order that you want them. I'll go through the stories as and when I'm ready. And again, bit of respect doesn't go astray in the chat. Some people, honestly, I just can't wait for some of these people to grow up and go out into the real world and start talking to people this way, because it won't end well for you, I'm afraid. But then again, that's the internet these days, isn't it, folks? So look, tonight I want to start off with a conversation around something that I read in the Echo, which kind of winds me up a little bit. I understand that some people do think that it's probably not the best thing to sack Arna now and bring in an interim manager, but I find it very difficult when we talked about Henry Winter yesterday, and I'm going to talk about Paul Gorst now, for them to write what they write and then walk right up to that line and then say, but you can't sack him. You can't sack him now. That'd be madness. So I'm sure you've probably seen the article doing the rounds today, and it said, when Liverpool searched for Jurgen Klopp's successor, it was one that took the best part of 6 months before Arne Slot emerged as the preferred candidate, and the enormous dossier produced on him by the club, which is said to have been around 60 pages, was indicative of how meticulous they were in the recruitment drive. It's why the idea of dispensing with Slot now and bringing in a stopgap appointment in a manner United did with Michael Carrick is simply a non-starter. Why is it a non-starter? Honestly, why is it a non-starter? Because I'm sure the same dossier that they had for Xabi Alonso is still there, sitting in front of them. Because they can, they put all these dossiers together for all these managers. So I'm sure that they've done a lot of the groundwork for Alonso already. So this idea that bringing in an interim manager would be silly, I would argue the exact opposite. And again, I'm not trying to pick a fight here with the Gorst fella this time. I genuinely am, but I just don't understand how you can list off all the failings we've had and still say, but getting rid of the manager would be the wrong decision at this point in the season. Why is that? I just don't get this. It's not going to get better under Arne. And everybody's talking about the brand of football we play being terrible, as are they. So why is it that we can walk right up to that line and then we have to stop and go, no, 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 don't fire him. Let him fail first. Because that's basically what the pieces say. That he's going to be gone in the summer. The review will be done in the summer. Why do we need to wait? Do the right thing and remove him. I don't get this. And by the way, that 60-page dossier, did anywhere in that 60-page dossier on Arne Slot say that he was about as useful as motivating the team as an ashtray and a motorbike? Because that's where we're at. I don't know what the dossier said, but whatever the dossier said and what we're dealing with right now, I guarantee you they're very, very different, because I'm still trying to figure out where the attacking-minded manager is, where the style of football that we were accustomed to is, and where the similarities between Arne and Jurgen are. I'm still trying to figure that one out. What's a dossier? It's a file. So it's basically the 60-page file that they did on the background checks for Arne Slot. But in that anywhere, did it say that he couldn't motivate somebody to get up off the chair? Because he must be the least motivational human being in management that I've seen in a long time. So in their dossier, just because they put all that work in, it means nothing else can be done. Like I've said, the same dossier will probably be sitting there for Xabi Alonso. And sometimes you can overthink these things. I understand that moving on from Jurgen was huge. I get that, and I totally understand that they wanted to make the right decision, take their time, look at all avenues, and come to a conclusion. No problem with that. But hasn't worked out, lads, has it? So the thing I keep coming back to is, why do we as fans have to wait for the damage to be done? Someone said, what if Slot wins? You might as well just stop it right there. Just stop the comment right there. What if Slot wins is enough? He won't. He's not going to win anything. We're going to win nothing this year. I take no pleasure in saying that. But what about the way we're playing makes you think we're going to win something? Do you think we're going to get through 2 legs against PSG, 2 legs against Bayern Munich or Real Madrid, and then go on and win a final? I don't. How can I? We can't be relegation fodder in the Premier League. How am I supposed to believe in good faith that we can then go and beat all these teams? Come on, man. What ifs are nothing. He won't win the Champions League. He won't win the FA Cup. He'll win nothing. We'll win nothing. And then we'll have to wait for the damage to be done. Now, the big damage could be done with the league form. Now, I was looking earlier on at the fixtures, and Keane kindly shared in the Discord group the run-in for us and the run-in for Chelsea. And I have to say, Chelsea's run-in does look particularly horrible. So I think the chances of us still scraping into that top 5 are pretty good. But here, I just can't get it. Like in any other walk of life, if something was going so bad, if a restaurant manager was running a restaurant that wasn't getting the food out on time, that had people waiting around too long, they weren't happy with the service, you're not going to keep them in and say, right, we'll wait till the end of this year and then we'll bring in a new restaurant manager. No, of course you're not. You're going to go and fire him because it's for the good of the restaurant. It's for the good of the business overall. So why is it not the same here? Other clubs act. We just sit on our hands and talk about the Liverpool way. And as a fan, I'm fed up writing off seasons. I'm fed up being invested in seasons only for the club to not make the choices that need to be made, whether it's on centre-backs, whether it's on defensive midfielders, whether it's on wide players, whether it's on the manager. It always seems to be that the brave, bold decision makers make no decision. And that's the braveness. I don't understand it. Surely, as a brand, as a company, as a team, you want to give yourself the best chance of success. And we can't, in the same conversation, say that Arne gives us the best chance of success and also that he's likely going to be fired in the summer. Those two things don't add up. So yes, I understand that bringing in an interim is a risk. But my point will be at this point, folks, I would argue that keeping Arne is a bigger risk. That's just my take on it. And I don't think I'm for changing on that, if I'm being honest. He's not going to get sacked, would have done it already, said Malty. Look, I don't think he's going to get sacked either, mate. I think we're stuck with him for the rest of the season. But it doesn't mean that that's the right decision. We've run this poll. We've asked this question many times. And we keep coming to the same conclusion. Everybody thinks the best bet is to get rid of him. Except those in positions of power at the club. So, again, we're going to have to sit back and watch the catastrophe unfold, unfortunately. Suleiman said, looking at how Spurs did against Forest, is Liverpool genuinely currently the worst team in the Premier League? I don't know what to say to you, mate, because they were beaten 3-0 at home by Forest and they came and got a point. The only point that Igor Tudor has got has come against us. You know, these things should be fairly self-explanatory. 1 point in 9 in the league. Can't beat Wolves. Can't beat Spurs. Can't beat Brighton. Lost 9 in 12. Like, why is it? Well, it'd be madness to sack him. Does anybody have a genuine belief that it wouldn't be the right thing to sack him now? That it would be better, or we'd be better served keeping him in? Because it feels like it's broken. The environment's broken. The atmosphere of the club's broken. And look, it isn't all down to one man. I'd be the first one to admit that. There's been failures all around this year. We've spoken about that quite a bit. But the main failure is with the coaching, with the fitness of the team. He likes to say that the league changed, but as Simon Brundish and others have said, the style of training was in place beforehand. This was already pre-planned. So, be honest, how terrible is Arne Slot, and would Xavi Alonso or Luis Enrique be a better option? So, look, Mox, is that your name? I'm going to call you Mox if that's okay. There's always going to be an inherent risk in bringing in the new coach. Always. No matter who it is, there's always going to be a risk. There's very few guarantees of success out there these days in world football. But that shouldn't be the question, in my opinion. The question should be, what's going to give us the best chance of success? And if the club truly believe that that is Arne, I think they would have given him a new contract by now. That's my take on that side of it. And on the other part of it, I just don't think Luis Enrique is possible, unfortunately. I think he's going to stay at Paris Saint-Germain, maybe sign a new deal, but he's going to stay there, in my opinion. And Alonso, I'm not saying he's perfect, and I've been really honest about this. I do think that there are concerns there as well. But you have to just talk about the overall health of the club, the well-being around the club, the well-being of the fan base. You know, sometimes you just have to be reasonable about these things. And Liverpool's fan base now is on the floor. You know, you hear and see people all the time talking about maybe not even wanting to go to games, turning off the games halfway through if they're not at the stadium or if they're watching it, or going out at times where they would have stayed at home to watch the Reds. That's kind of the vibe that we have at the minute, folks. And it's very difficult to break that and go back to a positive sense. Arne himself said a few months ago that once these conversations start, once a fan base starts to turn, it's really difficult. And, you know, there's not many examples out there over the last 20 years of a manager that has come this close and turned it round. Now, look, I am a realist. I do understand that there have been difficulties this season. Yes, there's been a changes of personnel. Yes, maybe some people have been taken a little bit longer to adapt to the Prem than we would have liked. Yes, the style in the league changed a little bit. And yes, we have had some injuries. But you still can't explain away the amount of poor performances, the fact that we don't look fit out there, and we're getting outrun by a 40-year-old James Milner. Our midfield was outrun by a 40-year-old James Milner. You know, that's the fact of why we are. So if we can't beat Wolves, we can't beat Brighton, we can't beat Spurs, how are we supposed to rationally believe we're going to go to the Etihad and beat City, then we're going to beat Paris Saint-Germain over 2 legs, and then we're going to be able to have this run in, which has got some tricky games in it, and get through that fine? Because ultimately, if they don't get Champions League football, we're all going to suffer. We won't be able to attract the players we want. We won't have the money that we would have had available. It just has a bigger problem. And I don't understand why they have to get to the floor before they make a change. It's still potentially savable. What gives us the best chance now of getting qualification for the Champions League? I think, for me, it's somebody coming in and inspiring the team, breaking the monotony, changing it up a little bit, maybe changing the training methods, putting an arm around certain players. That is, hand on heart, how I feel is the right way to go with this. And look, without trying to be big-headed about it, I've been an early adopter on this. I've been calling this for a very long time, that Arne isn't going to be the guy. And as the season has gone on, unfortunately, I've been proved right on that. And I'll be proved right on this as well. Why do we have to wait for the calamity? Make the difficult call. Sack him. Kelly said, evening, young Craig. Taking in my new Liverpool duvet set, nice. Just waiting for a slot print bog roll now. Love your content. Always a pleasure to see you in, Kelly, my dear, and I hope you're well. I did my suitcase packing for the holidays. Took me all of it, I'm not even joking. 6 minutes. That's how easy it is being a lad going away on holidays. Shorts, underwear, socks, t-shirts, medicine, done. Away you go. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. But yeah, thank you for dropping in as always, Kelly, and hopefully we come back after the international break. Things are a little bit better. Ask legendary managers, it's not all about losing, but how we're losing. There's no character, no hunger, and that is all on Slot. Thank him and send him. I agree. And I do agree. One part of what you've said that I specifically agree with is the thanking you part. Because we should thank him. Absolutely. You know, this doesn't need to be bitter. It can be done respectfully. Yes, we fans are volatile and we're a bit emotional, but it can be done respectfully, of course. He deserves that respect. But I just truly, with every fibre of my being, don't believe that leaving this run on is going to make it any better. So, I'm going to read out Andre's comment that was deleted. So, let me just pull apart your comment here, Andre. Craig Houlden, a man that complains about people being abusive towards him, you're no better. Right, so how in any way have I talked about the manager, the club, the players, that isn't about football? How have I been abusive? What you idiots keep forgetting is, when I harp back at people, it's after somebody's had a pop at me. This is the part that you are either too thick to understand or willingly just ignoring. I don't have a go at anyone. I don't abuse anyone. You don't see me on social media. You don't see me abusing anybody, bro, except people that try to have a pop at me. And I can't help it that I'm in the position with a microphone and they're not. But I don't abuse anybody. And I challenge you to tell me who I've abused. Don't abuse anyone. Being critical of somebody isn't abusing them. It's having an opinion. Coming in and telling me you're going to rape my child, that's being abusive. And that's what's happened. Multiple times. So again, I'm not abusive at all. You're just too thick to understand what happens, or you just don't like me and you use anything that gives you a preconceived notion that I'm a bad guy that justifies, vindicates your worldview of me. But ultimately, find me one example where I have, with nobody having a pop at me, had a go with somebody. It doesn't exist, dude. But again, you know that. You just come in because you don't like me and you're trying to find a way to make it all fit together in your warped little fucking mind. But unfortunately, you're very wrong about me. I'm a really nice fella. I do nice things for people. I treat people how they treat me. And I go out of my way to make people feel comfortable and at home here. That's the fact of it. And any other little twisted things that you want to throw out there, it's just bullshit. You know it. I know it. Everyone has tried, mate. You've tried to cancel me. You've tried to invent racism that didn't exist. You've tried to go back through tweets for 10 years and you can find nothing because, and this is the part you'll eventually understand, there are no skeletons in my closet, bro. I'm an open book. My life is played out openly. I'm honest about my mental health. I'm honest about my struggles. I'm honest about my views. And the fact that you can't live with that is not my problem. So keep being a sad, bitter little fuck on the internet who doesn't know anything about me but claims to know everything about me, and I'll continue having the world's most popular Liverpool fan channel. It must kill you that that's the case, but it isn't my fucking problem. So I hope I've cleared that one up for you, bro. But I am an abusive of anybody. What you see clips of me, you're obviously missing the first part where people come in and be abusive to me or my community. And the fact that I run the only fucking channel on the internet that actually takes that seriously should be applauded and not ridiculed. Because I look after my community. I look after vulnerable people in my chat. I should be applauded for that, mate, not ridiculed for it. So fuck you and fuck anybody that thinks they know me without actually getting to know me. We good? Right, let's get going. Cal, how are you, bro? Hope you're well. I've now gone past blaming Arna, as that's obvious. Every day this goes on, failures out FSG for not firing him. So, I mean, I thought you were going to go slightly different direction with that one, Cal. For me, where I struggle with is to find out how much how much frustration I should have to the manager versus the players versus the recruitment. Because being fair about it, there is absolutely room for critique and all around. Yes, we can look at the recruitment. That's been an issue, 100%. The players can't come out of this without holding their hands up as well, because how do you perform like you do on Wednesday and then not do that on the Saturday morning? So, you know, there's something to that as well. Now, you're never going to admit a player downs tools because we don't want to think that way of people. But I find it very coincidental that throughout multiple football clubs in history, as soon as a new manager comes in, all of a sudden people start performing better. And it's something that I think footballers get away with too much, because there's no reason to be able to do that on Wednesday night and then not put in the same effort, because we didn't. We didn't run as far. We didn't put in as much of a shift. So that also does need to be called out. Tottenham today lost 3-0, slot out. I know, dude, it's at home as well. It's, yeah, it just makes our results look even worse, unfortunately. You know, like I've said, 1 point in 9 in the league, 10 losses this season, throughout the season. And we've had one good performance in the last month. And I just don't see how we think this is going to change. I really don't. But like I said, I know I'm in the minority with regards to, or excuse me, I know I'm going to be disappointed with regards to wanting them out now, because I just don't see it coming. But I just know what's going to roll out down the line. I know we're going to be sitting here talking about being out of competitions, scraping into maybe the Champions League. And I truly believe that with somebody else, we might have a better chance of going a bit deeper in the Champions League, or a better chance of inspiring these guys to go out there and express themselves and play better. Because again, we don't have bad footballers. We have good players at our club, but they're not able to show what they can do enough. They're not showing what they can do enough. When all that's left in the fan base is the confirmation bias, the manager is cooked. Craig, have you mentioned today's game to the Irish guy? No, look, I had a bit of a... I did get Connor to post something to Geordie Josh as a bit of a joke, but look, I'd understand. You lose a derby, you're going to be upset about it. I think sometimes they go a little bit too... Well, not the Irish guy, but Geordie Josh goes a bit too far, I think, for my liking, but each to their own. Yeah, I mean, I understand their frustration. I'm sorry, but some of them takes are stupid. Sunderland have most team change. Look at how they're doing. I said the very same, Hayden, when we played Sunderland. They had 13 or 14 players brought in the summer, and they still looked well coached, and they still understood their roles. Which again, you know, somebody said it to me yesterday, and I think we've talked about it before. It feels like our seasons are reversed here. That what was last year should have been this year, and this year should have been last year, but that's what makes it even tougher to take, because you've gone from winning the league and being optimistic for the future to feeling irate, frustrated, and, you know, if you're acting like me, going around with a pounding headache all the time because you're constantly just tense and frustrated. David, how are you, sir? Evening, Craig and community. I worry about bringing in ex-players. Just look at Lampard at Chelsea and All Out United. Thanks, Slot, for what you did, but bye-bye. So, I get what you're talking about, but none of them had the experience level that Alonso has. Alonso's just won a league, and won a league without losing a game, in a league with Bayern Munich and Dortmund in it. So I think that does stand him in good stead. Gerrard, I would only ever advocate for on an interim short-term basis, more so because I truly believe that he'd be able to come in and inspire the players to get a performance out of them, because sometimes you got to just do that, put an arm around a player. You don't have to be overly complicated when it comes to what we need to do. These guys know how a 4-3-3 works. Most of them have played in it most of their careers. So just let the reins off a bit. inspire them with a bit of confidence, put an arm around who needs an arm around them, shout at who needs to be shouted at, and just do something different. Because obviously, whatever it is Arne is saying, it's not working for him. Mark said, "Congrats, City, but Kepa, what the hell was you doing?" Yeah, it was. Look, a wonderful day for young Nico O'Reilly. Credit to him. You know, that'll always be called his cup final. But yeah, Kepa had a howler there, didn't he? Craig, if you were the manager, who and what changes would you want to the team? So this is a tough one to answer because I'd be tempted to really rip it up. But the way I would go about it probably would be a rebuilding job. And I don't think Liverpool have the breathing room for a rebuilding job in total. So honestly, what I'd probably look to do, you talk about in the summer for next season, I'd certainly be looking to bring in more physicality as a defensive midfielder and as a centre-back. Definitely need more attacking pace. So one, maybe two wide players, depending on who moves on. And after that, it's just about looking at areas of the squad that you think maybe you can supplement with some of the younger players and actually give them game time versus how much squad filler do you need to fill in, let's say, at left back. What do we do there? Do you give in somebody like Anthony Robinson, 27, 28, or do you bring in another fullback, similar age, who maybe hasn't got to the experience level of Anthony Robinson, but fancies coming into battle with Kirkes? Because it is a difficult conversation, I'm sure, to have with a player if you're looking to bring in somebody to replace Andy Robertson if Robbo moves on. But you're also saying to them you're probably going to be second choice to Milos Kirkes for a lot of the season, although you wouldn't dress it up. You dress it up to say you can fight for the place. But so yeah, some things are going to be quite difficult. The situation with the goalkeeper does still concern me a little bit because unfortunately Alisson started to pick up more and more injuries, which I don't know, maybe just a part of getting older. You know, I don't know what causes it, to be honest, but we've seen him pick up more and more. With Georgie, I don't know. It's so. This is the one thing I really find it difficult to figure out because it's like going from Klopp to Slot. You're going from this icon, this legendary figure, which is what Alisson is. And to me, Alisson is Superman. You know, I'm a former goalkeeper. I idolise him. He is the best goalkeeper I've ever seen at Liverpool. So you're going from that. So whoever comes in next, even if you went out to give me pick of world football now, it's going to be a tough one, right? So I don't know if my judgment on Georgie Mamardashvili is based off the fact that I'm trying to hold him to an Alisson Becker standard. So I'm unsure where I am with that one. But other than that, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with regards to what I do in the summer. If Alonso came in, I'd be genuinely intrigued to see if we went to a back three. But then again, you probably need an extra centre-back brought in to do that. If you could go back in time and not renew Mo and Verge and bring in quality replacements last summer, would you? Can't help thinking we should have done the hard thing and said goodbye to those legends. Yeah, it's a very fair question, mate. I would still keep Virgil, if I'm being honest. I would. I'd still keep Virgil. I would probably have put in another centre-back alongside him, so I probably would have looked to bring in a Schlotterbeck or, well, probably not the right player. Schlotterbeck plays on the left side, but I would have looked to bring in another centre-back, but I would have kept Virgil. In fact, I would probably still extend Virgil for another year. But Salah, look, of course, knowing what we know now, you'd probably say yes. And you'd probably say yes for a couple of reasons. Not only because his form dropped off a little bit, but also because there's been another incident with the manager. So that was another moment this season. So yeah, that being said, probably would have said goodbye because I would certainly be looking to say goodbye this summer. Yeah, that's my honest answer on those ones. David, where are you? No, this one actually from our friend in Toronto. Are we need a change of manager, but some of our leaders on the pitch need to be called out. There's been a lack of ownership to the pitch, especially from our experienced players, VVD included. I agree. Like I've said, there's definitely more accountability than just the manager. And some of those senior players haven't been doing much leading. Absolutely. Virgil, I find somewhat difficult for Virgil because he does have to do a lot of explaining after games, and it must be tough for him because I always feel like he's biting his lip somewhat. Someone said they sent a super chat and it's not being posted. That's a YouTube thing, mate. I'm not meant to be dismissive of you. I really don't, but we have no control over that. If there might be a word in there that's on the banned list or something, I don't know, mate. But there's nothing I can do to change that. If you want to put the comment in again, I'll look out for it and read it out for you. I promise you I'll read it out, mate. But yeah, I have no control over the YouTube side of things, unfortunately. But if you want to re-put it in, I'll do my best to read it out for you. Mamardashvili's kicking is shocking, said David. It isn't great, but the players also need to learn that he's left-footed. And there's been a couple of occasions where they're passing the ball back as if they're passing it back to Alisson. And, you know, he is left-footed, Georgie, so they need to work on that a little bit as well. But this is something we should have known when he came in. Like, I never expected him to be as good with the ball at his feet as Alisson. You know, that was the first thing that popped into my mind when I knew we were going to sign him was, okay, this has a great shot stopper. He can command his area. He's obviously a big physical presence. But yeah, he isn't as good with the ball at his feet as Alisson. But then again, if you look at Manchester City and what they've done, they've brought in Gianluigi Donnarumma. So they've kind of moved away from that Ederson mould of almost like quarterback goalkeeper. So being fifth at the end of the season is a good season for the board. Come on now. We're reaching for better. I hate this narrative with Liverpool. I hate it as well. Because whilst, of course, we as fans understand the importance of Champions League qualification, we're not naive enough to not think it's huge for recruitment. It's huge for financial side of it. But it isn't a trophy. It's not an achievement. Especially when there's 5 places. Like, it almost feels accepting of mediocrity to go, yeah, we scraped into 5th. That's a decent season. Keep the manager on. I don't buy into that either. You know, you're in this to win trophies. And we look so far removed from that level. GAKPO is just slow and too predictable. Every time he gets on the ball, the attack just slows it. It gives me physical pain on how slow he is. There's no denying that he is slower. But on GAKPO, there was a report from Team Talk today that said Cody GAKPO could leave Liverpool this summer, with the winger being actively offered to clubs in the Premier League and around Europe by intermediaries. Bayern Munich, Atletico Madrid and Spurs have all expressed interest. Now, this is where I get a little bit confused, because I can absolutely understand and see a world where Cody gets sold. But there was an article going back a while ago that I did do some chasing up on, and I found out that, yes, the club really don't want to lose both wide players in one window. So if we're urging them to sell GAKPO, the likelihood is Salah will want to have been kept. But it's a tough one as well, because if you did sell both of them, right, and you could make a very good argument as to why you should sell GAKPO and why maybe this is the time to say thank you and, you know, time for something new to Mo, it does leave a lot of work to do across the front line then, because Chiesa is most likely going to go. Then if GAKPO Salah went, what are you left with in wide areas then? Rio Ngamoa plus whomever comes in. And whomever comes in, that's going to be a lot of change across the front line again. So it almost feels like which is going to be the more unpalatable of the 2 wide players to sell or to keep. So I'm not really sure what to expect in that regard, but the Cody GAKPO stories aren't going away. He's been strongly linked with Bayern. And if there are, and again, I don't know, but Team Talk report that intermediaries of GAKPO are shopping him around a bit. Surely there must be something to that, either from our side or his side, that he's unhappy. I don't know. I really want him to get an extended holiday, Craig. So do I, but like our friend said a moment ago, I do think thank you should be a part of that as well. You know, because I feel like the longer this goes on, the more volatile it gets. So I would like to just say thank you, appreciate your efforts, and shake him in the hand, give him his payoff, and move on. I'm sorry, I'm still trying to see if that gentleman put his comment back in that wasn't allowed through, because I did promise him I'd keep a lookout for it. So I haven't seen it yet, dude. But if you post it in as promised, I'll get to it for you. Sorry, I'm still scrolling just to make sure. Thanks, Craig. Not beating up on Verge. I really think he's been shocking this year on a whole, at least compared to his lofty standards. I get it. I do understand it. It's I feel like he had a good early part of the campaign, but in the last while, it feels like he's a little bit lost. Like, there was a really good bit of analysis on Match of the Day last night from Alan Shearer around how bad and how much space there was between our centre backs, and how much space. Like what I was saying in the watch along, was just too much space being given in that 18-yard box, and we were too easy to play through. One ball over the top, time and time again. So yeah, I do get where you're coming from on Verge, and I think there's enough frustration for everyone. So N12 KRC, as promised, and thank you, Keane, for sending it on. You said that's fine. It was. I dread to think where we would be if teams around us were good. Thanks, Craig, WFM. No problem, sir. You're right, though. You're not wrong. Like, if other teams were consistent, we'd be out of this top 5 race now. It's only the fact that Chelsea are so all over the place that's kept us in it. You know, they had a chance this weekend to go ahead of us. And then if you look at the run-in coming after, like, we have some tough games, but their run-in's horrendous. So unless somebody can come up from the Brentford, Everton mould, I do think we'll probably just about keep Chelsea out of it. But it feels like 5th is the height of our ambitions at this point anyway. In the league, I should say. Cyrus, how are you, my man? Said, in my opinion, Mac has been our worst player this season. Not sure why he doesn't get more stick. P.S. Craig, you remember me from October. I do, Cyrus, yes, I do, sir. Yeah, it's been a tough season for Macca. Obviously, he became a father. I have a memory or recollection of him coming into this not having a full preseason either. I might be wrong on that. If I am, I apologise. But yeah, he's I just feel like he wants to move. If I'm being really honest, my gut feeling is Macca wants to move. So look, somebody said to me earlier on, what would I do if I was in charge? And I said what I'd want to do would probably be too much work, because it would be too much upheaval. But honestly, let's go through the squad, and I'll tell you my honest view of whether they should stay or go. Allison, stay for one more year. Frimpong, stay. Bradley, hand on heart, I think we need to look at that position. Not because of the quality of Conor Bradley, because of the fitness issues. It just can't go on like this. Unfortunately, it just cannot. You cannot have somebody that you can't rely on to rotate Frimpong if he's injured or needs a breather. So I would probably make a tough decision to move Bradley on. As bad as that sounds, and I don't like saying it because I am a big Conor Bradley fan, but it's no good going into another season and then 2 weeks into it having no option to change the right back and having to shoehorn in another midfielder or centre back. So Bradley, I would move on. Frimpong, fine. Canade, at this point, I'd say bye-bye, because it feels like it's just a money thing with Canade. Truly, that's what it feels like to me from the outside, that he's a money-motivated player. And that's okay. I'm not saying that to knock him. Each to their own. People come into football, their careers, they manage them in different ways. I've got no issue with that. But I wouldn't be held over a barrel for him. I don't think he's worth that. So if they haven't been able to reach an agreement to this point, I would say, okay, no problem, mate. Best of luck to you. We're going to search elsewhere. Van Dijk, keep. Robbo, I'd love to keep Andy Robertson. But I've always said I do understand the club side of this as well. Do you really want to be paying your backup left back 180 grand a week? Probably not. But the experience side of it is another important factor there. And Andy Robertson is a leader through and through. So if I'm being greedy, I would like him to stay. Kirkes, I've been quite happy with. I think he's progressing well. Into midfield, Endo would go. Jones, I don't know what the situation is with Jones. I don't know whether it's him and Arna aren't getting on, or whether Jones really just fancies a move away. But the question here is, how much value do we put on him being a squad player? Because he's never going to be a first 11 player, in my opinion, but he is a good, valuable squad player to have. So if the right offer came in, I'd listen there. Then I'd move on. GAKPO, yes. Salah, yes. I'd move on. Szoboszlai, try to get a new deal immediately. Gravenberg's already signed a new deal. McAllister, I'd like him to stay, but if he wants to move away, then fair enough. The right offer comes in. Explore that. What else? Who else am I forgetting about? Rio, look, self-explanatory. The kid stays, progresses. Stefan Bajcetic is another really interesting one. I'd be tempted to extend him, send him on loan, and see if he can get through without injuries. If he can't, then at least you've protected the value and maybe you move him on. Have I forgotten anybody else of a big persuasion that we... WIRTZ obviously stays. Have I forgotten anybody else, lads? I'd rather lose Subject 18 and 14 than Legend 11. I don't know, it's a tough one, mate, because it's hard to know where Mo's at this year. Like, how much of this is maybe confidence, how much of it is the manager, how much of it is the situation the team is in, how much of it is Diogo's passing, how much of it is the right back not being there that he was used to playing with. You know, because it feels like the team under Jurgen was set up to get the most out of Mo. And understandably, because he's the guy, you know, Mo's the star. But when his star starts to fade a little bit, you do have to adjust the balance somewhat and hope others step up. And then, of course, we have the wages thing. It's a lot of money, which he earned, by the way. He earned that contract, but it's a lot of money as well. Finally finished my PE project, thank God. Well done, Leona. Proud of you, mate. Hopefully it goes as well as you hoped. Mamardashvili, I would keep, but I can't be the only one who's thinking if Alisson moves on, go get Kelleher again. I can't be the only one thinking that. You know, I think Caoimhin Kelleher was an opportunity missed for so many clubs, particularly Chelsea. I really expected Chelsea to come in for Kelleher because he's better than anything they have there. And Newcastle, I think, again, Newcastle could have looked at Caoimhin Kelleher. So I would like to bring Kelleher back and really let him and Mamardashvili fight for the starting place when Alisson moves on. And I can't be on my own and thinking that. VI Joker said, scraping for top 5 is unforgivable. Our standards are shocking to see. Exactly. I keep saying that, mate. For a club that talks about standards so much, we're very happy to let them slip and not act on it. Because we want to be the nice guys. I don't want to be the nice guys. I want to be the winning guys. And yes, you can go about that and, you know, do it with a certain amount of grace and class. But, you know, ruthless decision making is part of top level sport, unfortunately. Stupid hypothetical question. If I told you Alisson, Frimpong, Kirkes, Dom, Grav, Rio, Isak and Ekatike were the only remaining players for 26-27, would you roll the dice right now and replacing everyone else? No, it's too much. Because Mamardashvili's gone in that sentiment. Who else would I not want to get rid of that you have there? Have you got Szoboszlai there? Yes, Gravenberg there. Maka, I wouldn't mind. A lot of what you said I wouldn't be against, but the goalkeeper one I wouldn't be moving on just yet. That asshole earlier on still stuck in the back of my mind, by the way. I hate when people do that. Like, they try to lump me in with all the really toxic people out of laziness or because they've a preconceived idea that they don't like me. If anybody pays any attention to this channel and comes in, they'll see that I never go in on nobody for no reason. I'm very welcoming. I'm very polite until it's time not to be. That's the difference. Even with a new manager, I don't think Mo will ever be as good as last season. It was his peak. He's getting older. Well, let's ask that as a poll tonight. Let's talk about Mo for a sec. So, would you let Salah leave this summer? Yes or no? Now, obviously, there would have to be for a fee of some variety. Matt said, I think no interim manager we would want is available. And why do we assume Stevie G would do it? Because he dreams about managing Liverpool? It's an open secret, dude. He absolutely dreams about managing Liverpool. He has been top drawer all his career. Does he settle to be shoehorned in? Yes. And here's why, Matt. Because right now, if you're Steven Gerrard, right, the outlook for you as a manager is probably limited for the opportunities that you'd have. But if you came in and did anything decent, even got Liverpool slightly back to their best, I feel like that would stand him in good stead and would certainly give him another opportunity, or somebody would take a gamble on him. So yeah, and look, with regards to him wanting the job, it's, you know, Emil Heskey was only talking about it the other day. Like it's Gerrard's dream. Someone says Real Madrid 2, Atletico Madrid 1. Anybody able to let me know who scored the goals for Madrid? Because obviously I have a little bet on. So just wonder who scored the Real Madrid goals. Did you banter Lee? Yeah, for Lego Head losing. I didn't banter him, but I did message him, Jaden. I messaged him to say, Valverde scored. Gets in. That's the one I was looking for. Lads, how do you have Valverde a 4-1 to score? 4-1 for Valverde. I couldn't believe the odds. I couldn't click the bet button quick enough when I seen 4-1 for Valverde to score. It just felt like free money. No, I didn't banter Lee, but I did message him to say, look, I thought Arteta was too passive in the second half today with the team. And I said, you're going to win the league. But, you know, that's another one that got away from him today. Because in the second half, City really stepped on the gas. And you can't say they didn't deserve to win today. They were the better team overall. Arsenal had some chances, yes. But I just think, again, the attitude from Arsenal is too solid. It's a cup final. You have to loosen the reins a little bit in a cup final, I think. In a league, yes, different situation. But this is a one-off occasion. You got to go out there and rip it away. Win it. Not try to not lose it. And I feel like it was just too passive from Arsenal at times today. And Lee's probably the only Arsenal fan I don't really banter. Because he's my mate. And, you know, we have a laugh back and forth. But I view Lee as somebody who I show respect to. You know, I'll take him, unlucky mate, and I'll congratulate him if they win the league. But yeah, I definitely wasn't bantering him. I knew look, if he's acting like me, that's the last thing you'd want to see. You know, when you're already wound up, you're already pissed off. You don't need your mates adding to that. I got the job. I'm the new sous chef at a hotel. Boom, we love that. Congratulations, my friend. Sous chef as well, on the way to great things. Well played, mate. Delighted for you. You know, you don't have to name a dish after me, but if you want to. Hoarder said, do you think we'll end up in top 5? I do. Just about. Because of Chelsea's running. That's the only reason I think we'll get there. Chelsea's running looks a little bit more difficult than ours. But again, you're looking at our games coming up. Fulham, they're going to be pushing. They're still somewhat, I think, in with a chance of some type of European football. Everton, they've got the bit between their teeth. I'm not looking forward to that game. They played very well against Chelsea. And the first one in their new gaff, that's going to be tough. I think we'll get a result against Chelsea at home, and that'll just about get us over the line. Man, I take Valverde every day for our midfield. So would I. He's a wonderful, wonderful footballer. So yeah, I think we'll get top 5. I think we're going to go out of the FA Cup against City, and I think we're going to get knocked out of the Champions League. I'm not necessarily saying it's a formality that PSG knock us out, but I think the furthest we get to the semi-final, because with the second leg being away from home against either a Madrid or a really confident Bayern, I don't know. I'd probably say that's a bit of a stretch too far. Even thinking about beating Paris Saint-Germain feels like a leap at the minute because, again, how can my rational brain look at a team that beat Chelsea 8-2 or something over the course of the 2 games and think, yeah, we can beat them, but we couldn't beat Wolves, we couldn't beat Spurs, we couldn't beat Brighton. If Danny Welbeck can do that to our centre-backs, then what's Harry Kane going to do if we play against Bayern Munich? So Anthony said, I think under a proper manager, Salah and most others' games would improve. I think move Salah through simply because he's going on to his last year and eye-watering wages. Yeah, it's such a difficult call, isn't it? Because you're right to say we probably would get more out of him under a different coach that sets the team up in a different way. Excuse me. But that's why I feel so unnecessary that Arna's done what he's done. Like, the methodology was there. The ingredients were there. Our identity was there. Why? Like, does anybody else drive themselves demented trying to figure that out? Because it's something I just can't get my head around. Why do you take something that was working and rip it up? I really, 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 really don't get it. Why move away from something that so clearly benefits us? If you look at the newspaper reports after the victory over Galatasaray, it was all some version of, that's us, that's Liverpool, that's the Liverpool identity, that's the way Liverpool play. Some variation of that was in most papers. And they're not wrong. Also, Galatasaray are not very good and are particularly poor away from home. So that needs to be taken into account as well. But that's us. That's the way we play. And again, this lad was brought in. I'm sure that 60-page dossier that they were on about, that's probably supposed to show why he wouldn't be too much upheaval from Kloppo. But he's gone a completely different direction and now can't get it back. And that's worrying. You really learn the most about people when their backs are against the wall. And am I wrong in saying that when Arna's back has been against the wall this year, he's done everything but take ownership of the situation? He's talked about, he's obsessed with the £450 million. He's absolutely obsessed with that. He's come out with clangor after clangor saying that nobody in England sells or nobody talks about the money we brought back in. Then he goes on about Klopp and compares himself to Klopp and Klopp's failings in seasons gone past. He's tone deaf. This is him when his back's against the wall. This is him. It's easy to be pat on the back and say, well done, mate, you won the league. Easy. Everybody knows how to take a fucking compliment. But when it's against the wall, I'm seeing shades of Brendan Rodgers. I'm seeing throw everybody else under the bus, and it's self-preservation. And that key fact is at the crux of why I don't think he should be in charge. Because I'm not seeing leadership. Arna is an egotist coach in disguise, Craig. He despises the fact Klopp's name is lingering over his first trophy as Liverpool manager. I can't speak to whether he does despise that fact or not. He should be counting his lucky stars. But David said, Craig, you're going to hate me if you've already answered this. My last chat, but my phone died. So thoughts on a fan recently getting a pic with Arna at Manchester Airport? We discussed it last night. We talked about it last night, mate, on the stream. I mean, I've no problem with the fan asking for a photo, of course. You don't have any issue with that, but we talked about Arna coming out after in the press conference and saying to the reporter, I don't know, I have a break, the players don't have a break, I don't know if you have a break. And my immediate reaction to that was, why do you have a break? Why does Arna have a break? Because the season's still ongoing. Yes, you don't have the players who are on international duty, but you still have a job to do. You're still in a hole, mate. We're still fighting for our lives here. Why are you fucking off? I don't understand it. I really, really don't understand it. And I don't understand how people think it's acceptable. If you're winning and things are going well, no problem. Treat yourself to a few days off. Be you. But when your back's against the wall and you're miserably failing, you should be doing everything. On the training pitch with the coaches at the AXA, looking at the underage players, seeing if there's anything. Go watch other players. You should be being proactive. And I don't buy this he can work with a laptop from wherever he is crap either. You know, it's an international break, not an end of the season. Don't we play against Pep Linders as manager when we play City away? Yes, he'll be taking charge of that team because Pep Guardiola suspended. So, yeah, Linders will be in charge for that one. Will I be doing a watch along for our Liverpool Ireland's qualifier? No, I'm on holidays, mate. I'm on holidays, so I won't be doing a watch along for it. I'm pulling an Arna, mate. I'm out of here. Yeah, no, I'm away for a week, so unfortunately I won't be able to do anything around it. Jason said, "Hey Craig, wants to give a massive shout out to my great uncle John who passed away this evening. World War II veteran, sailor, and a great man." Well, firstly, Jason, thank you to your great uncle for his sacrifice, his service, and the work that he did to keep other people safe. So, massive thank you for that. And also condolences to you and your family, bro, on the passing of your uncle. You know, I'm sure this is not much help to you at this point, but you know, you must be very proud of your uncle, mate, to be able to say that, you know, to say that he sacrificed for others and, you know, lived through it all as well. So, you know, what a fulfilling, selfless life he seemingly led. So, yeah, love to your family, mate, and condolences on the passing of your uncle. MIGR said, "Hey Craig, when Slot mentioned Isak will be available versus PSG, does that mean he's out versus City?" It's a good question. I don't know is the honest answer. You know, we'll see him out on the training ground, all right, but it's tough to get him back up to match fitness. I can only speak for me, but you know, I'm of the mindset that anything we see from Isak between now and the end of the season is, I don't want to say a bonus, but my expectations aren't for him to come straight back in and be the Isak he was at Newcastle. I think, you know, we might get some impact from him this season, but ultimately, you know, I'm not expecting him to come in and be our saviour or anything like that, but I am expecting him to play a big part from next season onwards. So yeah, I don't know, mate, but you know, if he is in the squad even, you know, how much minutes is he realistically going to be able to do initially? 10, 15. He's going to have to build back up, and yeah, I hope he does. Enjoy your holiday. When will you be back for Late Night Agenda? So tomorrow will be my last Late Night Agenda, and then I will be away Tuesday morning, and I'll be back the following Wednesday. I'll be back working. We've got Sabrina's brother coming to mind the house here for us, so yeah, looking forward to a trip away. Craig, does Dom sign a new contract? Yes, I think so. But again, you know, does maybe not getting Champions League football have a say on this? I don't know. You know, you would certainly hope that those conversations are ongoing right now with Dom, because he certainly deserves a new deal, and you know, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn to say he's a potential captain in the future as well. Martin said, Craig, I think because Arne hasn't been able to take ownership of his own failings and thrown players under the bus, he's not going to get the respect of the players, especially the senior ones. Exactly. I agree. And like I said, it's very easy to take compliments. It's very easy to be told, well done, attaboy. But when life gets tough. So here's my reading of Slot as a person. And this isn't to say it's good, bad, or indifferent. It's just how I see him and how I think he looks at it. I don't feel like if he gets fired, it's going to bother him one bit. Because I don't feel like he gives off the vibe that managing Liverpool Football Club is the be-all and end-all of everything. It's the culmination of everything he wants to do. I don't get that feeling off him. I've always felt like, for some reason, he almost underappreciates how big the club is. It's the way he talks sometimes. There's something about him that just makes me feel like, and I've used this phrase before, he feels he's doing us a favour by being here. And everything that's gone wrong this year is because other people can't see his brilliance, and the world won't bend to his will, and people won't play football the way he wants it played. And it's all bullshit. Because Brighton play football exactly how he wants it played. No low block there. But he still wasn't able to find a way. That's how I look at him. And I add into that the fact that I don't think he's ever really ingratiating himself to the fan base. In my opinion, we signed too many big players. Thoughts? Yes and no. So I'll explain that. I do question why we spent £200 million on two centre forwards. I have to question that. You know, if you wanted Isak, you should have held the line, got Isak. So to bring in both feels a little bit like, well, are you creating a problem for yourself here down the line? Especially if they're both want to play centrally. Something has to give there to some extent. Unless you can find a way to play both of them. So that side of it is where the yes comes in a bit. But on the other side of it, no. Because we brought in Frimpong, who is a good signing, but you wouldn't say superstar. Kirkes, again, good signing, but you wouldn't say superstar. Just another good player on the up who could become a superstar. Then you've got Isak, who we overpaid for. We all knew that at the time, but paid what it took. Katike, who certainly has surprised me with how good he's been. I wasn't sure what to expect. So that was a pleasant surprise. After that, though, not really the superstars, no. Like WIRTZ, I know, and I've seen a few comments in the chat about WIRTZ. Maybe I'm absolutely wrong on this. Maybe I'm pig-headed on this. But I've no concerns around him. Except for the fact that, yes, at the moment, he's still finding his way. But I really think we need to cast our mind back to Dom's first year and some other players' first years and remember that we need to be a bit more patient there. And I do think WIRTZ is going to become everything and more that we expected him to be when we signed him. Because he's still only, 22 years of age? You know, the courage it took and the belief in his own ability to make the leap to Liverpool. It would have been so much easier for WIRTZ to go to Bayern Munich. It would have made his life easier. He wouldn't have had to change leagues. But he chose the hard road. And he chose to come to Liverpool Football Club because he believed that he can succeed here. And he believes in the size of this football club. That means a lot to me. And I was so happy that he came in. So I think some people are being a little bit too dismissive of him at this moment in time. Arne is obsessed with his old Barca team. Arne's dream is Barca, City or PSG. Those are his dream clubs to manage / coach. I don't know, but I don't think Barcelona are going to be sitting around thinking, oh, that Liverpool side play a good, attractive brand of football. That's exactly what we need here at Barcelona. Manchester City, again, I don't know how Manchester City could be anyone's dream in all honesty, unless it's a pay packet you're after. So yeah, I don't know what he does, but I just don't think he should be in charge of the Liverpool Football Club anymore. Does anybody else have concerns about WIRTZ or full belief in him? Because it's been weird, because I used to think it was just this season, it was opposition fans who were writing him off, but I've seen a few more Liverpool fans starting to creep into the chat to be dismissive of WIRTZ and say he's been a flop. I don't think to call anybody a flop on their first year coming into a new league is right. From any club. Like, I'm not sitting here calling Victor Gyökeres a flop. Haven't seen me do it once. Because I think you need time to settle in. But he's a lot older than WIRTZ. And he's already had a taste of English football, albeit in the Championship. Dave said, Craig, if we don't qualify for the Champions League, we'll be able to spend in the summer. So this is a tough one, because your instinct is to say we probably won't. But if you look at the last time before the big summer that FSG actually opened up the wallet to rebuild a bit, was after we failed to qualify for the Champions League. So I guess you could look at it in two ways, Dave, mate. You could look at it as if maybe they do have to cut their cloth accordingly, or you could look at it that they roll the dice and think, well, this has to be a one-off, and we need to make sure that this doesn't happen again. So I think we probably do spend, but what I'd be more concerned about is, can we get the players we want? Because you're not getting a Michael Elise if you're in the Europa League, or at least it would be a hell of a hard sell. But financially, we'd have the ability to do it to a certain extent. But of course, you can't ignore the difference in the money you get for the Europa League versus the Champions League. Where else have we got? Our owners rely too much on Hughes and Edwards. Problem is, Hughes and Edwards have plans to move on and don't want to cost FSG any extra. I still don't understand what Michael Edwards is actually still doing. Like, I get what he was brought in for, and yes, he's seemingly done the groundwork on the multi-club model, and himself, Pedro Marquez and Julian Ward have been going around Europe looking at clubs. But, if FSG have shelved that and don't want to buy another club, then, why is his multi-million-pound wage being paid by them? I don't think Liverpool pay. I don't know. He's an FSG employee, so I don't know where that money comes out of, whether it comes out of the Liverpool accounts or whether it comes out of FSG's own pockets. I really don't know the answer to that one. I feel like Jerome said WIRTZ and many others need a manager that will unlock them. Jared Kelly said WIRTZ is young and will come good, and the club will benefit. Craig, I promise I'm not trying to be toxic, but I believe WIRTZ is horrible and won't cut it at Liverpool, unfortunately. Look, you're entitled to your opinion, sir, and you posted it in a very understandably respectful manner. Do you mind me just asking, just for a conversation, why you don't think he's going to make it? Is it the fact that he's too lightweight? His shooting, by the way, I get where you're coming from. He does need to brush up on some of his finishing a little bit, or at least shoot a little bit more quickly. But honestly, mate, I'd be very intrigued to know why you don't think he's going to make it. Just so we can have a chat about it, not to have a go at you, Ratton. Shay said, I've got no concerns about WIRTZ. Anyone that understands football knows the quality he has. He'll be unreal under a proper manager. Scotty, how are you, bro? Said, Craig, do you think Slot gets sacked at the end of the season and get Alonso? I can't. My understanding is yes on both questions, but they're two different questions. The Slot part, he has to go. Like, he has to. You cannot review this season and not come out with a negative viewpoint on it. The only question is, do you think the mitigating circumstances to the poor season are enough to roll the dice to give him another one? And the problem is, if you roll the dice and it comes up showing that he isn't it, how much damage is done by that point in the following season? Are you at a point then where you're losing another season? I'd rather lose a season through finding a way with a new coach than lose a season through being pig-headed. Because like I've said many, many times, Scotty, I don't know a situation of a manager who's walked up right to the edge of being fired survived and hasn't been fired shortly after. There aren't too many examples of that I can think of in world football. And I think the tide has turned too much now. And they know that. They know that the fans don't want them. They know that it's getting more and more difficult to sell those expensive hospitality seats. So the question is going to be, how much weight do they put behind the variables this season? The new players, the Diogo situation. And by the way, he dealt with that Diogo Jota situation impeccably well. Impeccably well. That was one of the most impressive parts of Arna that I've seen. I thought he dealt with a very difficult situation in an extremely statesmanlike manner. I will give him immense credit for that. And it was a very, very difficult situation. You have to add in the eeriness of new players coming into a dressing room where they're trying to find that dynamic. They're trying to understand the banter of the dressing room, you know, what you can say to who, and you're doing that at a time where the club's in mourning. So I'm aware of all of that, and I do take that on board, but I still come up with the same answer. I don't think he's the guy. But you won't ever see that about me. People will just say he just toxic wants him out. But if you listen to me, I'm not as hot-headed as people think I am. I just think deeply about these things and try to look at it from as many angles as I can. And if I felt like the players were struggling to adapt to the way he wants to play and mistakes were coming because of the style he wanted to implement, this would be a different conversation. But I'm not seeing that. I'm still seeing a man in denial at what he's looking at. I'm sorry, but there's no excuse for WIRTZ to consistently ruin attacks and miss hit passes, not to mention he's no urgency or venom in the way he shoots or sprints. So, he was never brought in to be a speedster, so I think we can give him a pass on that one. He was brought in to be a playmaker, to find space between the lines, and to try and unpick defences that are congested. And I think you'd have to admit that, yes, some of your complaints are more than fair due. He does need to work on the shooting, does need to work on the timing of that pass, but he also has the ability to do things in tight spaces that others don't. And he's got an ability to find pockets of space when others don't. And he also needs better players in and around him, giving him better service. But, you know, I do take on board what you've said. I'm not saying he doesn't need to improve on stuff, but, you know, he wasn't brought in to be a speedster. That was never going to happen. He was brought in to be a number 10. And I think he'll be just fine at it personally. But I guess we're going to find out, aren't we, over time. Jamie, how are you, dude? So going to the Legends game on Saturday in the Cop. Can't wait. Nice. Hope you enjoy it, sir. Have a good time. It's not my cup of tea, personally, but I do appreciate the benefits of it. You know, it's going to a good cause. You get to see some old stars and some old heroes. So yeah, have a great time, my man. Irish Mick, I don't know what happened with the comment. I seen that it was retracted by your mate, but thank you anyway. Lucy, how are you, Lucy? Said Slots played safe attitude is making our players more injury prone. I think, and of course his lack of rotation of the squad has put more strain on the team. So there's been some really good work and some good threads around the training. Now, I'm not qualified to talk about red zone training. In fact, it's something I only learned about recently. But we seem to, at least according to what I'm seeing, have gone too far in the other direction, where last year it looked like a stroke of genius because it kept the players fit a bit longer. But here's where I'm at. Were the players still working off Klopp levels of fitness, with Arna's added rest periods and days off, and now, second season, and new players in, those fitness levels aren't there. Because we aren't running enough. We aren't fighting enough on the pitch, in a good sense. And that's where my head's at. You know, was there a lingering fitness thing that carried in to that season last year And with the new players coming in and the way we train now, is that what's catching up with us? Because we don't look fit enough. We just don't. We look like we overcompensated for the rest period. And maybe you can say, with the squad not as deep as he'd want it to be, maybe that was a little bit sticky from as well. But I still think we're still trying to find excuses, ultimately. Liam, how are you, Liam? Said, do you think the players have lost motivation this season, or have they fully down tools with Slot as much as Slot's been poor this season? The players have been as equally as bad. Down tools is probably a little bit too strong. But like I said, Liam, I find it very difficult to stomach as a fan seeing players able to do it on Wednesday night in the Champions League, but not able to do it on a Saturday against Brighton. That's on them. That lack of effort and running is on them, because you can't just lift yourself for the big moments, the big games, and then not go into your Wolves, your Spurs with the same attitude, the same aggressiveness, the same hunger. That isn't an indictment on the players. It is. Because, you can say what you want about Slot, and I have lots to say, but ultimately they did it on Wednesday. We all sat here and said, that's the standard now. That's got to be the way we go going forward. This is it. We've seen it. We know they're capable of it. So explain away Saturday. I can't. Yes, short turnaround. Take that on board. But the drop-off was just too far. And yes, I also understand that Ekitike going off early doors would have been an adjustment. There's no denying that. But again, we looked worse in the second half than we did in the first half. What's the WIRTZ Alonso news? Yes, I haven't got round to that yet. Actually, thank you for reminding me, sir. Let me give this one to you. Yeah, I just can't believe that. Actually, I probably would have forgotten all. This is why I keep saying to you guys, remind me of stuff, because my dumb ass will forget, even though it's in the stream title. So this piece here, Bayern Space and others, because I have reached out to others to see if there's any meat on these bones. Florian Wirtz has told German teammates that Alonso's assistant, Sebastian Perilla, recently contacted him asking detailed questions about life at Liverpool. With Frimpong also involved, and Wirtz favouring Alonso as the next manager, the talks are seen as serious and potentially the early stages of a coordinated move behind the scenes. So there's been a couple of things about the Alonso situation that I found very interesting in recent times. Usually when a manager like Alonso is openly available on the market, you will see headline after headline of clubs looking to bring him in. We haven't really seen that, have we? The only job that I've really seen him strongly linked to at one point was Marseille, and he turned down that opportunity from my understanding. But why is that? Why is he not being linked to jobs? My guess is that he's waiting for the phone call. And I don't for 1 second think there haven't been conversations or intermediary conversations. So I would say, and I have tried to find out as much as I can, that there is certainly substance to that post. Quite how much interaction and conversation has been, I don't know. But like I've said, my info was that the club are leaning towards the Alonso direction anyway. And he hasn't been linked with jobs. So, why is that? You would imagine he'd be linked with a load of jobs. Chelsea probably going to need a manager because Rosenior's gone. Spurs are going to need a manager if they stay up in the Prem. But he's not being linked to these jobs. And I keep saying I don't believe in coincidences. So, for me, I'm trying to put all this together in one bullet point sentence for you. But sometimes it's a matter of adding up a lot of little things. And sometimes when you add up a lot of little things, you can find the answers you want to find. You're going to have, confirmation bias. But I look at this and I think, right, do the club really back Arne? My view is no, because if you were so adamant he was the guy, you would have given him the contract at the start of the season, or excuse me, the contract now that was being spoken about at the start of the season, but you haven't, nor have you even looked like doing it. Then you've got Alonso not being linked with jobs. Then you've got the common sense factor of thinking, well, how do you get the most out of your £116 million player? You bring in the coach that won a league title with him and was invincible, and that he idolises. Right? This isn't that hard to sit back and think about. How do you get the most out of one of your prized assets? How do you get the most out of your £125 million striker? Well, you set up a system that actually plays the balls into him the way that suits his game, with and early crosses. When you start to add up all these little things and you start to do your little checks, it keeps coming up Alonso. That's where my head's at. Because, again, if you really believe in the manager, where's the deal? It's not there. Because despite what they leak and brief to the media, they don't believe in him. They don't trust him. Because they're not stupid. They know that this man has underperformed and failed this year. They know that. He failed at a big club. He didn't fail at a big club. I will argue with anybody that he failed at Real Madrid is wrong. He failed nowhere. They failed him. And I'm not being facetious. I'm deadly serious. Real Madrid failed Alonso, not the other way around. Because they didn't let Alonso come in and lay down the standards that he wanted. He wanted to hold the players to account. He wanted certain standards and methodologies. He wanted a certain level of professionalism. And Real Madrid is a player power club. So they are above the manager in the pecking order. That's why he was fired. Because his win percentage at Real Madrid was higher than other managers that have stayed there. He was hired because the players are divas. Or fired because the players were divas at Madrid. That's it. So I really think anybody who says he failed at Madrid is just not being fair about it. Now, you can say he's still a risk, and I won't argue with you. He is a risk. But he didn't do poorly. He was let down. He wasn't backed. That's my take on it anyway. And I'm actually quite surprised he was that naive to walk into it. Because, yes, he played for them, but he should also know what Perez is like. And, you know, look at who's in charge at Real Madrid now. That should probably give you a hint. They just need somebody to just go through the motions on the training ground. And, you know, Alonso is a leader. And those players didn't want to be led. Irish Mick said top players spent a lot of money, should be top of the league. Instead, worrying about Everton catching us, it's a disgrace. I'm not disagreeing at all, Mick. And Brentford. Let's not forget Brentford, because, you know, we were talking about them as potentially battling relegation at the start. So fair play to Keith Andrews for what a great job he's done there at Brentford. And yeah, you know, Everton had a very convincing 3-0 victory over Chelsea, and they absolutely deserved it. So I get it. I'm with you, Mick. It's very, very concerning that we're sitting here worrying about them. But ultimately, mate, as they say, take the emotion out of all of this and just look at the numbers. Just look at the numbers. We've lost 10 games in the league in 31. We lost 9 in 12 in all competitions at one point. We were beaten by 3 goals for 3 games in a row for the first time in, I think, over 100 years. We are terrible defensively. We're disjointed in attack. All the signs point to failure. So what is there to keep him in the job? I'm really struggling to find out anything other than he won the league last year. Because I don't think the circumstances of what has changed this year with the tragedy of Diogo, losing Trent at right back, you know, tough with the Trent situation. I mean, tough. So you have to figure it out. This is why you're brought in. And he hasn't been able to do it. And he hasn't been able to get us playing football. And he hasn't been able to turn the situation around. And he's had lots of chances to reset. September international break, October international break, November international break, now March international break. All these times to reset. And he hasn't found a way. And again, Wednesday felt like the players just fed off the crowd. And that's why we beat them. That and Galatasaray, like I keep saying, aren't that good. Grizzly, thank you, bro, for gifting 5 memberships. Lade Top said, renew. If fans can say yes in 2 seconds, then no. Exactly. So, we asked, would you let Salah leave this summer? 80% of 2,000 people that voted said they would. So 1,600 people from the 2,000 there said, yes, let Salah go this summer. Here's an interesting one. Okay, so based off what we said earlier on about the club not wanting to change both wide players, you know, there's been a few articles written to say Liverpool don't want to lose Salah and GAKPO one window. Which one would you keep? If we had to hang on to one this summer for at least one more year, which one would you keep? It's a tough one, right? Because you're tempted to just go with Salah's been better. But then you look at the other side of it and you think could be the last chance to cash in on Mo. And also, if we brought in another versatile, fast, direct, wide player, I don't think GAKPO will come in for as much flack as he has. Because I'll go to my grave believing that he's suffering from the fact that we didn't replace Diaz with some fan opinion. Because, yes, he's having a poor season. I can't argue against that one. But he was never what people were asking him to be. He was never fast. He was never direct. And I think because we don't have that in the starting 11 now, that's just adding to the frustration we all feel. Because I feel it as well. So I guess I can give you my answer on it. Which one would I keep of the two of them? I'd keep GAKPO. I keep GAKPO, and I'll openly admit it's the financial side of it. Because I'd rather we bring in 30 to 50 million quid and remove 20 million quid a year off the wage bill to allow us to have more flexibility. Specifically if we don't get Champions League football, when every penny is going to have to count. The wage bill is going to have to be looked at. I just think the common sense answer is to sell Mo, because best case scenario, you've got one more year with him and then you're going to lose him anyway. With Cody, you just put him back to being a squad player, not a guaranteed starter. Go through one more year, let players settle in, and then yes, you can still move Cody on. You've already secured his contract, so he's already got enough time that you could give another year, then make that decision and cash in on him if you need to. So that's where I'd be at with it. But I can understand the other side of it as well. I really can. If you in the bottom of your heart really believe that Salah will be better under a different coach, I can totally appreciate where you're coming from that one as well. Craig, I would love Desiree Doué, no links, but versatile, very good take. Yeah, he's a really good player. I remember when he came on against us. I didn't know much about Doué until we played PSG, and then I thought, oh my god, this lad's coming off the bench. Are you joking me? I was really impressed by him. Yeah, he was really good. And obviously paid more attention to him since then. Unfortunately, The one that we've been most linked to there was Bradley Barcola. That was the player at PSG that we were more strongly linked to. Craig, I know it's late. I've loads of time, mate. Loads of time. I've been on an hour and a half already. Lads, I don't know where the time's going. But I'd really like you to do this poll tomorrow evening. Do you believe Slot won the title while we still had Klopp's style of play as a DNA? The answer is going to be yes. You don't need to do the poll, mate. The answer will be yes, I'm telling you. Because the reason I am so adamant the answer will be yes is, excuse me, last year that was being said when we were winning. And I was trying to defend him a bit to say, I think, yes, it was Klopp's team, but he was able to elongate how long players could go without injuries, and that got us over the line. He kept it a bit more gas in the tank, and ultimately then we stuttered towards the end of the season. So yeah, I'm telling you, it'll be categorically yes. That would potentially make Rio third choice. No, not necessarily, because if we're talking about bringing in somebody like a Yan Diamonde, he can operate on either side, mate. Because I did obviously weigh that up on my thought process as well. And also, we don't have to shoehorn Rio into the left side only. It would actually probably be better for his development if we gave Rio some time on both sides. On the left, on the right. I think that would actually make him a better, well-rounded player as well. But it's a very fair point you've brought up. But in my answer, I'd given that consideration, and I think that's why another versatile wide player would be important, because you are right. Long term, Rio is going to be a big part of this squad. Is there any truth to the rumour Elise wants the biggest English club and his family was at the Brighton game? There's a lot of people saying about the family at the Brighton game. I don't know, is the honest answer. I've not looked into it or asked anybody about it. I've seen mixed things on Elise. Some feel he'd ideally love a move to Real Madrid, but they don't have the money and probably don't have the need or desire to bring him in. After that, I would say we're probably right at the top of the list. He would be my dream replacement for Mohamed Salah, and I've been saying this for 18 months now. I just don't know how realistic it is, but if there's any chance for it, I'd be all over it. So Keno just said me the Elise Brighton report came from Indy. So I've got no idea is the honest answer on that one. I don't know. I mean, it would be strange, right? Like, it feels a bit random as to why you would openly have his family at a game versus Brighton. I just don't know. I can't think of a logical reason why they'd be there. You know, if I just don't understand why you'd bring them in so publicly like that. I think it would be very strange. You do these things behind the scenes because, you know, it would also come across as a bit disrespectful towards Bayern Munich if you're openly seeing one of your players' family as a Liverpool guest at the Amex. Like, it feels weird. Elise isn't leaving Bayern. I think you could be wrong on that. And I think the reason you could be wrong on that is a financial one. Not to do with the size of Bayern Munich, who are a very big club. But there's murmurings that they have to adjust their finances a little bit. Because, look, whatever way we want to think, the money is in the Premier League now. That's, you know, it's the league with the most financial clout. But Bayern are definitely a big club. I mean, I would never say otherwise. They're a very, very big club. But the Premier League's the Premier League, and, you know, it's where you can earn the most money. So I just think for that reason, there's always a chance. I'd keep Salah, but not on the wing, said Itachi. It's very interesting to me, mate, that we haven't seen much of them through the middle. Like, even once that I can think of. Because I certainly wouldn't mind seeing it. You know, let's say, oh no, sorry, it wasn't available. Like in yesterday's scenario, if Salah was on the pitch and Ikatike went off, I'd love a world where we just throw him in central. Just to give it a go, like, because let's see if the problem is that we're not getting him close enough to goal. Put him in the position and then see where he's at. Of the current squad, what's the best 11 when all is fit? I don't think we can. I don't think I can give you an answer because the best 11 varies depending on the opposition. I can give it a go with it, but everyone fit. I'd probably go something like Alisson, Frimpong, Kanade, Virgil, Kirkes. Gravenberch, Soboslai, WIRTZ. Ekatike left, Isak central, Salah right. It's kind of my best guess at it. But like I said, it depends who you're playing because different attributes might be needed against different opposition. 250k for a squad player doesn't seem a right move. For GAKPO, it's a tough one because the term squad player is a very vague one, right? Because some squad players have huge impacts on your season. You know, look at Divock Origi as an example. So the idea of having a well-rounded squad player, I don't mind. And I do think I wouldn't mind having GAKPO as an option. Same way I didn't mind having him when Diaz was there. I just think he's a useful person to have in the squad. But I guess if you said to me, Craig, here's £70 million for him, I'd be saying, thank you, Cody, but, you know, can't turn that offer down, mate. That's a lot of money. You don't have to worry about a catch-up. I'm putting out a news video just after 10:30 where I'll run through all of it, mate. So we'll go back over it. But the biggest point is the situation with WIRTZ, and I will happily read that one out for you now, my friend. 1 second. So, this came from Bayern Space. They posted it, and Anything Liverpool quoted it to say, Florian Wirtz has told German teammates that Alonso's assistant, Sebastian Perilla, recently contacted him asking detailed questions about life at Liverpool. With Frimpong also involved and Wirtz favouring Alonso as the next manager, the talks are seen as serious and potentially the early stages of a coordinated move behind the scenes. I want to talk about a defender for a minute, because this is the time of the night where I say to you, we're linked with a player and I know nothing about him, and ask you guys, have you watched anything of him? So LFC Transfer Room posted crediting, I believe, a Belgian outlet that say Liverpool are interested in signing Leuven defender Rogerio Niakosi, spelled Nyakossi, 22 years of age, who would be very interested in completing a move to Anfield. Look, mate, he might as well be called Johnny Awesome, because I have no idea. I've never seen this guy before. Don't know anything about him. Don't pay any attention really to Belgian football. So Rogerio Niakosi, 22 years of age, defender, playing for OH Leuven in Belgium. So yeah, I don't know much about that one. So, you know, if you know anything about Johnny Awesome, which if he signs, got to be his nickname now, do let me know. Thank you so much, Mash Blends, for being with us as a member for 19 months. Really appreciate you. Can we take a sec to laugh at Newcastle? I do find it funny that, you know, certain Newcastle creators are slating Visa, and yet we're drooling over the fact that we're signing them in the summer. Yeah, I find that funny. But look, I don't know what to say here, because even though the fuckers hate me, I still have a real soft spot for Geordies. I just do. I've always thought they were good people. and a football club that I, as a neutral, enjoyed watching over the years. So yeah, it's a weird one, but it hurts losing a derby, and I get their frustrations, but if I was to come out and say some of the things that Dave said about their own players, I don't think I'd have a channel. So for all the people that think I go overboard, I would never say half the things I've seen written today from some Newcastle fans around their own team and players. I'm critiquing of performances and say people aren't good enough, but some of the stuff I've seen today is way over the top. Poker Bempty said, you're getting Joel O'Donnell from Belgian Brews next summer. He's yours already. We've been linked quite strongly with Joel O'Donnell, yes, and I do know a lot more about Joel O'Donnell. He came through Independiente del Valle at the same club that Pacho came through, same club that Moise Caicedo came through, same club that what's his name, Hincapié came through. A long conveyor belt of talent. So I've been aware of Joel O'Donnell for quite a while, and quite frankly, I'd love him. But I don't know if he'd be ready to come in and play straight away as one of the main two at centre back. But maybe one more year, let's say, even if he was in the squad and getting minutes gradually, very, very good player, and I would have absolutely no problems with us signing him. Dave said, Craig, I can see City winning more than Arsenal this season. I don't know. Look, Arsenal will win the league at this point. I feel pretty confident to get that done. There's too much of a gap, I think. Champions League, I've never felt they're going to win, even though, yes, they do have the easier side of the draw. I just think they won't win it. An FA Cup, there's still 8 teams left in it, so who knows who wins that. But yeah, it's possible. Here's a question for you that I asked in our WhatsApp group, and I've been thinking about it today. So with Spurs losing 3-0 and looking like they're in free fall, would it be fair to say, if Spurs go down, that it's the biggest shock relegation of the Premier League era? And I'd love this to be clipped up and for people to put it on TikTok or whatever. If Spurs get relegated this year with that stadium, with the fact they won the Europa League last year, with the players that we've seen at that football club, would this be the biggest shock relegation of the Premier League era? Because I truly feel it would be. I can't think of a bigger one. It almost feels inconceivable that Spurs will get relegated. Even now, like I can't quite believe how this has happened. It feels... I can't imagine how it must feel for Spurs fans, but even for me, like, it's just a fan of football, I look around going, holy shit. Like, wow. And it looks like it's genuinely possible. They're like 1 point, I think, plus goal difference above West Ham. And with Forest winning today, that pushes them up a little bit. They're where are their next points coming from? Because it's looking really, really, really bad. You said do a poll. There's one in our Discord or in our WhatsApp, mate, already that we have running on it. I'll tell you the numbers in it now. Where are we? WhatsApp. So we have a poll running in WhatsApp, and 1,500 people said yes, and 72 people have said no. So yes, most people think it's the biggest relegation. So yeah, I imagine that stadium like in the Championship. It just feels mental. And how would Spurs cope? Would they come straight back up? How many of these players could they keep? Even allowing for the fact that there's relegation in their contracts that I think sees them take a 50% pay cut. How many of them are going to want to stay there and take that 50% pay cut? It's crazy. So we asked, which one would you keep, Salah or GAKPO? 70% of you guys said that you would keep Mohamed Salah, and 30% said Cody GAKPO. Appreciate you. So give us a number then. If you were to try to actively sell Cody this summer, what's the number for you that will get the deal done? Malik, how are you, sir? So, Craig, do you think the hierarchy will take advantage of this international break and make a decision to sack Slot? No, I don't. Because you can kind of get an idea of these things from the type of briefings that are coming out. So I'm just going to pause my chat for a sec so I can come back to those numbers that I asked you guys about. But let me read something out from a little bit from one of Paul Gorst's pieces. And he writes, when Liverpool searched for Jurgen Klopp's successor, it was one that took the best part of 6 months before Slot emerged as the preferred candidate, and the enormous dossier produced on him by the club, which was said to have been around 60 pages, was indicative of how meticulous they were in the recruitment drive. Here's the part, though, that really stood out to me. It's why the idea of dispensing with Slot now and bringing in a stopgap appointment in the manner of United with interim boss Michael Carrick is simply a non-starter. The time for judgment will come at the end of the season. So I strongly disagree with that, because in that premise, we're allowing the failure to happen and we're not being proactive. For what? Because if you're looking at a man that's failing and is constantly unable to turn this around, how is the best bet to stick with him? At least with somebody else coming in, you have the possibility of an improvement. But really, how much worse could it get? Truly, like that's a genuine question. How much worse could somebody else coming in make things? Because at least the stadium wouldn't be anywhere near as anxious. I don't get it. It's crazy. This insistence that we have to see this through this season before making a decision truly astounds me. I don't want to write the season off. And I'm not saying if Gerrard came in, we'll win the Champions League. But I honestly feel we'd have a better chance. Not because I think he's a better coach, but because I think he'd motivate the players. And I think he'd restore a bit more pride in that dressing room. And I think he'd be a better connection to the fans. And I think that would stretch out to the players. And I think we'd get, if nothing else, a wave of goodwill that will carry them through a bit. So I would say it'd be a bit better. I don't understand this. It was the same with Henry Winter in a piece he wrote the other night. He spent paragraphs laying out all the failures. You know, boring, brand of football the fans aren't buying into, lack of real fitness, a lack of intensity, a lack of an identity, spells out all these things, and then said he shouldn't sack him until the summer. I don't know. It just feels wrong to me. If I was in Hughes and Edwards' shoes, I'd want to try and salvage something. And I really don't think that keeping him on board now is going to do that. Because the will isn't there from the fan base. Everything feels painful. It's just, for me, it just feels like the wrong decision. And ultimately it'll be in the summer where, what, do we have to wait to see if we scrape Champions League football or not? I don't know. It wouldn't be me. I'd be a bit more decisive on this personally. And also, they spoke about the dossier that they compiled on him. I'm sure they also compiled a dossier on others, and Alonso would have been one of them. So you don't have to do too much figuring out to think, okay, there's the guy, we have the dossier on him. He's out of a job, which is also another really appealing factor here, because you don't have to go and try and get a manager of another club. He's unemployed at the minute, sitting there waiting. Reform said, so Carrick improving United to get Champions League is a bad thing that shouldn't be copied. What does the size of the dossier have anything to do with the need to keep him? If anything, mate, it just shows that they still got it wrong. Now, they would argue he won a league title and they got it right. But I would argue, bullshit, you got it wrong. Because this is where we are now, with the guy you've chosen and backed. And I don't see them asking where the brand of football is that he was supposed to play. I don't see him overachieving, which was one of the things that he was brought in to do, that he did a Feyenoord against PSV and Ajax. I don't see him connecting with the fans, and I don't see him taking any responsibility for the performances. So I'm with you. How is Carrick going in there and walking into that dressing room and talking about what it means to wear that jersey at United, what is expected in front of the fans? I don't see how that's a bad thing either. Craig Adams said, if they're going to sack Slot, best to get Alonso in now so he's a bit of time to work with the players because we won't have much time in the World Cup. So, that is a tricky one because if I'm Alonso, I probably do want to come in at a natural start point, which is the end of the season. But that doesn't mean you can't have an interim boss in there and talk to Xabi about the transfer business or the direction after that. There's a lot that you could sort out with him without him actually walking into the job. So yeah, I just don't see why waiting for the failure is the right option. I'll tell you why they're doing it. They're hoping beyond hope that he pulls something out of his backside so they can all say, see, we were right. That's what they're hoping for. They're hoping that by some fucking miracle, he pulls a trophy out. So they can then go, see, we were right. But they won't be. They'll be wrong. Just like they've been wrong to not fire him to this point. And again, take no pleasure in saying that, but let's not bang our heads against the wall here and think something different's going to happen. This is what we've seen all season. And some of last season. Because that doesn't get talked about enough. Quite how poor we were from March onwards. Shano, how are you, dude? R.I.P. Michael Lister, an Irish broadcasting legend. So sad to hear of his passing today, Shane. Very Irish conversation, this, folks. But Michael Lister was the voice of Gaelic games in Ireland and more. A huge part of my childhood growing up, and I'm sure Shane's as well. A good, solid professional who, I certainly learned a lot off around sport, around how to broadcast. I can't echo what Shane said enough. An absolute colossus of Irish broadcasting, especially in sport. And 71 or 73 these days is still quite young. Haley said, I'd love if Klopp came back from his holiday, or did you say, did you mean Slaw? Came back, you said flop, so I think you mean Slaw. Came back from his holiday with a rock for everyone, and Alonso was sat there in his office, turned around rocking a cat. Craig, would you take Murillo from Forest? In my opinion, we need more Premier League proven players instead of betting in players from other leagues. Yes, I do. I do like Murillo. I think he's a very good defender. Not as aerially strong as we're used to, but, still a very good defender. Still can't believe we didn't sign Mark A. That one still doesn't sit well with me. Shit Case Cinema said, evening Craig, watching your videos for about 2 years now, love your views. The videos have gotten me through some very difficult times lately, and I always look forward to new content. Thank you. Appreciate you, my friend. Thank you. It's a pleasure. It's an honour to get to do this, and I really don't take it lightly, which is why I get so wound up when people try to pigeonhole me as one, thing, like that idiot earlier on saying that I abuse people. You won't find me abusing anybody that hasn't asked for it or that hasn't started it. It's not my fault I'm better at it than some other people. That's not my problem, but I was raised to be respectful and polite, and that's what I am until I don't need to be. But as the old saying goes, don't ever take my kindness for weakness, because I have the other side in me as well. I just respect you too much to show you that side, because I love you. I love you and what you've done for me. I love what you've given my family. I respect you. But I'm never ever going to take dickheads in the chat. It's just not going to happen. I mean, you should know that about me by now as well. Like, why did I leave That's Football? Similar thing. I'm a man of principle. and I stand on those principles, and I don't bend them. Murillo's aerial ability is a lot better than you think for his size. No, I'm not saying he's terrible, Simon, but he's not a 6'4", 6'5" fella. But I'm also super excited to see Giovanni Leone when he comes back. I can't wait to see him next season and see his career progress. He looks like we got an absolute superstar. So yeah, really excited to see how he gets on as well. The other thing with Slot is he's clearly so clueless with regards to who to play where. Instead of putting on a like-for-like replacement yesterday for Frimpong, he puts in another midfielder. So, again, I'm going to credit Alan Shearer and Match of the Day for this because I didn't think of it, but the point they made was really true. We played 3 different right-backs in one half yesterday. Now, let that sit there for a second. In one half of football, we had 3 different people at right back. And that's what he's done too often this season. It's just desperation, as you've rightly said, tinkering around with who plays where. And just because Dominic Szoboszlai can play at right back doesn't mean he should play at right back. And even if he can play at right back better than some other people, still doesn't mean we're not losing something in another area of the pitch. And I agree. I don't get it. I'm not trying to say Ramsey should have been given every game, but I'd certainly rather give him a chance and have Dom further up the pitch than put Dom at right back, still have some vulnerabilities there, because one, he doesn't get out to block crosses, which is where Brighton's second goal came from. Look at it, go back and watch it. He was too far away from the winger and he didn't get out to block the cross. The cross came in and then Virgil was in no man's land, absolutely nowhere. The defendant's shambolic. And again, he just has excuses. How bad is Jeremy Jacquet's injury? He's going to have, or maybe he's already had surgery. And then I think it's somewhere between, I want to get this right, 6 to 10 weeks. I think he should be back for pre-season. Slot said the FSG model forces him to play the same player. Oh, you've retracted your message. Did you hear him banging on about nobody in England understands the sales part? Like, that really, really drove me demented yesterday. It's like he won't let it go. And he just keeps going on about it. Everybody's well aware that we sold players. Because if you look at some of the things we've credited Hughes and Edwards for, a lot of it is about the money they got for the players they sold. And Edwards has form for that. He's always been a good seller of players. So we're well aware that we sold players. But the way he goes on about it, you'd swear he was asked to operate on a shoestring budget. And the players he moved out, bar maybe Diaz, he wanted them all out. So what's the problem? You weren't playing Elliott. The club tried to move him on. Everybody knew Darwin wasn't going to be the one. Diogo was nobody's fault. That was just a terrible tragedy. Diaz, I'll give him some leeway with. I'm sure he probably wanted to keep him. But outside of that, every player that moved on was players that most people, the consensus would have been fair enough. I just don't understand what he's trying to, why he feels so hard done by. Because this wasn't his tone in the summer. His tone in the summer was very much one of, we're building this club to compete across all competitions, to have competition for places. I like a small squad. And now all of a sudden, all the things that he was really happy about are now problems. And unfortunately for him, it's all there in black and white. You can't deny reality. He just won't take it on the chin that maybe he's part of the problem. Hey Craig, Anfield Agenda is part of my life. Much love. Thank you, Bradley. Appreciate you, mate. Yeah, I'm tomorrow last stream for a week. It's gonna be weird not talking to you guys for a week again, but I definitely need the mental break. So yeah, one more late night agenda to go before we say bye bye for a week. Darwin at least gave the most effort every week. He was crazy that he could get a rise out of his teammates when they were struggling. Thinking back to when he scored those 2 stoppage time goals. Of course, that was a memorable day up at St. James's Park, but I wouldn't say he always gave 100%. There were times where he looked like he had a cob on out there on the pitch, and one game in particular, I remember away from home, he just looked so disinterested. But the crux of your point stands. He definitely was a handful. But again, look at it. He can't get into the Al Hilal team. You know, that's the Saudi Pro League, not Liverpool Football Club. So I don't think it was the wrong decision. LFC Tez said, Arne Slot is a master of excuses and blame on everybody but himself, added to the fact this man management is beyond questionable. Will Connor be doing a watch along for the Ireland game? We haven't talked about it. I'll certainly ask him. I'll bring it up with him, but I don't know. He's going to be doing videos. I know that much. He's going to be doing a couple of videos a day most days while I'm away, but we haven't actually talked about the Ireland game. Any chance for watch along of the Ireland game on Thursday? I'll be away, Ross. Unfortunately, mate, I'll be over in Spain. I'll be away Tuesday to Tuesday. And although my brother-in-law will be here minding the house, I don't think he'll want to jump on and do a watch along. So, Craig, what's the first thing you would do if you took over as Liverpool manager? Walk into the dressing room or the training ground. Tell everybody it's a fresh start. Tell everybody what happened is in the past. Everybody comes in. New chance, fresh start. Show me what you can do. And you'll be picked on merit. You know, if you've earned it, you'll get your chance. That's the first thing I'd do. And then I'd start trying to build up confidence again. Gala still crying. Congrats, Liverpool. Yeah, it's been very salty. Some of the stuff, like, I mean, I did the video where I called out their club secretary for those stupid comments around Canade, trying to say Liverpool inventing a story about Canade being racially abused. And I just thought, if that's the standard you're putting out for your club, if that's, you know, you in a position of authority at the club, and that's the version of Galatasaray that you want to put out into the world, deny reality, deny that this happened, rather than ask your own fans to be better behaved. Because I promise you, if it was Liverpool, just look at what happened when Antoine Semenyo was racially abused by that twat at Anfield. All of us called it out and condemned it and wanted him thrown out. There's no place for it. So that was very disappointing to see him belittle the seriousness of the situation and try to deflect away by talking about Noah Lang's injury and saying that Liverpool haven't even apologised for it. I'm sure Liverpool are going through the process of finding it out. I'm sure that Liverpool are very aware of the situation, and nobody wants Noah Lang to be injured. Nobody wanted that to happen, and we all wish him a speedy recovery. Osimhen, on the other hand, it was a case of the boy who cried wolf. Sorry, it was. If you feint around, roll around, jump on the ground, try to waste time, the 3 times we've played them, well, the one time he did actually have a real injury, everyone went, yeah, he's at it again. So he's his own worst enemy in that regard. And if they can't see or understand that, I don't know what to say. That's their fucking problem, not ours. I honestly believe it's mainly the manager, because it seems lackluster demeanour has negatively seeped into the team. Slot standards are sloppy. Right, folks, I'm going to go and record the news update video. We've a couple of stories we haven't got through tonight that we've kept up. One of them will be around Alexander Isak. So keep an eye out for that one. There's a story about a club being linked with him. We'll be talking about that. We'll have a bit on Anthony Gordon and a few other bits and pieces coming up in the video. Should be out in the next 15-20 minutes. So I'll see you tomorrow. One last late night agenda before I head off for a week. But thank you again for dropping in tonight and spending some time with me. Appreciate all of your time, all of your support. And I hope you have a lovely Sunday night, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.